Hey, what's good with it, y'all? We are back with another video. Man, we're finally here. We finally made it to the MO3 trial. I know I spoke about it before where I was going to give you guys a little bit of game about what's going on, what's happening with the MO3 trial. We're going to try to follow it day to day, and I'm going to give y'all, of course, my take. So you all know what it is, man. It's your boy, RealLyfe Joker from the RealLyfe 3 Stars. Y'all make sure y'all do the thing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. And we're going to kind of just break this thing down. I want to kind of have an interaction with you guys to see what's y'all thoughts on the trial so far, how things are going. And just kind of just as it happens, just discuss things. Are they doing a good job in the prosecution? Is the defense doing a good job? Who's winning? And just get to know all the players involved. That's the goal as far as let's get to know all the players involved and go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to play the opening statements. Basically, I'm gonna play the state's opening statements, and then I'm gonna play the prosecution's opening statements. I don't know if I'm gonna split into two videos. I think I might, just to kind of give y'all a break and a breather. But if y'all rather see it all together going forward as far as just longer content, let me know. But with that being said, let's jump right into it. We're gonna watch this thing together. Let me see if I could make it full screen. Let me see 1 second. I'm gonna share the screen here. All right, there we go. Let's go and get started.
All right.
All right, we got the judge walking in. The judge name is Chika Animeum, I believe. She is, I think, well, I know she is. She's Nigerian descent. If y'all don't know, I'm of Nigerian descent. I'm of Igbo culture, Igbo land. I believe she's Igbo as well, if not Yoruba. And we're gonna go from there. And I might read the comments over to the side. As y'all can see, there's comments flooding in. I might jump on those comments. As y'all know, guys like Ratchet TV, like Just Say No to Skull, a couple other bloggers, they were banned from coming up to do this because the MO3 sector wanted to be there in the courtroom every day. They did not allow this, but we got cameras in this. We got cameras in, so we should be good. We should be good.
Traffic was impossible this morning, but you all made it here. And thank you so much for your patience. All right, so today, this trial will start in earnest. First, I'm going to have...
the comments are saying, why can't we hear no more? Free that boy. We in this thing. Got some gorillas in there. We in this biz, some gorillas, roast, candy. Our volume too low. Yeah, the volume's going to be low. I'm going to make sure the volume's high on here.
Provides the defendant notice and outlines the elements that the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
There we go.
Indictment number F2500179. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Dallas County, state of Texas, duly organized at the January term AD 2025, the criminal district court number 4, Forsyth County.
I already don't like the lawyers look.
And Forsyth County at said time
about
that Keywan Dontrell White, hereinafter called defendant, on or about the 11th day of November 2020 in the county of Dallas, state of Texas, did then and there intentionally and knowingly cause the death of Melvin Nibble, an individual hereinafter called deceased, by shooting deceased with a firearm, a deadly weapon. And the said defendant did then and there cause the death of the deceased for remuneration and the promise of remuneration from Marquise Conway, namely United States currency, against the peace and dignity of the state, signed by the foreman of the grand jury.
Thank you. And to this indictment.
So what they're doing is they're basically laying out what the state is saying happened. They're basically saying that we are charging Keywan White with the murder of MO3. They're saying that Keywan White is the trigger man. He is the man who, of course, jumped out the car and shot MO3. But they're also implying that he was doing it for pay. He was basically a paid hitman. And they're saying that Yella Beezy is the person who paid him, and that's what they're presenting. So, again, that's the state's, that's the prosecution. Again, the way it works is the state, if they're going to charge somebody for murder, they got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to prove it. So we're going to see throughout this trial if they have enough evidence to prove it.
What is Mr. White's plea?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. White pleads not guilty.
Thank you. Does the state intend to make opening?
We would,
We're about to get started.
How many minutes do you need? 15?
that should be sufficient, Your
All
Honor.
right.
Thank you. May I proceed?
You want white?
Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's been a long 2 days to start. The 14 of y'all are the ones that could hear the facts and evidence that are going to come from that witness stand. And for that, we are thankful. You've heard a lot about the law. And I'm going to try and give you a roadmap now of what I believe the evidence and the witness testimony is going to show you over the next 2 weeks. And it boils down to one simple thing. There was a hitman on the highway. And that hitman was the defendant, Keywan White. This case took place right around noon on November 11th of 2020 on I-35 as you approach into downtown Dallas, right before you get to the zoo. A man jumps out of a black Camaro after stopping at noon, broad daylight, cars all over the freeway. The victim, in a gold Honda, gets out of his car, tries to go to the passenger side looking for something, realizes there's nothing there or can't get to it in time. He takes off running. And it's not just my words, you're going to see it. Because a Kroger truck had a dash cam. And you will get to see the last seconds of Melvin Noble's life as that man chased him down with a ski mask and hunted him like an animal. You're going to hear from witnesses who were on that highway. You're going to see some of their photos and see what appears to be Mr. Noble take even his last few breaths. But it wasn't just about that day. In fact, the defendant, at about 6 p.m. the night before, had gone over to the Arroyo Apartments in West Dallas. And he sat there and stalked Mr. Noble like an animal.
He was stalked.
And then about 11:45 the next day, you'll see surveillance video of both of them leaving, going down Ledbetter, and then getting on the highway. What you're going to come to find out is Melvin Noble was known, not just in Dallas, not just in the state, but nationally and internationally, for his amazing talents as a rapper, an artist, but he was so much more than that. He was a son, he was a brother, and he was a father. What you're also going to learn is that in the years leading up to 2020, there was a beef that was going on.
Let me pause that. I know I'm playing this, and they're gonna play some more, but I want them to really hone in on the fact that, you know, where MO3 was at the time of when he said MO3 was a known artist nationally, internationally. Of course, a lot happened after MO3 died to kind of put his name in the martyr system as far as shooting it to the forefront. But I want them to break down exactly where he was at before he died, you know, doing music with Boosie, you know, with Mike Tyson. That's what they needed to do in this trial, show that he was on the come up and his voice was becoming louder and louder and louder. Therefore, you know, it does make sense to end, you know, his life if you haven't beef with him or if you just don't want this man to be around. He's almost too big in regards. So therefore, even outside of a hit, just not liking him, it's enough reason to say he has to go.
In Dallas, Texas, between really two rising stars in the rap scene, a third rapper, I guess, and Trap Boy Freddy. But there was a beef between Melvin Noble, our victim, also known as MO3, or Bubba, as his family calls him, and Yella Beezy. Real name is Marquise Conway. You're going to hear testimony, and there's, as defense told you yesterday in Board IR, there's terabytes and terabytes and 250 witnesses. I promise I respect y'all's time enough to not call 250 witnesses. I'm gonna try and call just the right amount for y'all to have everything that you need to go back there and find the defendant guilty of capital murder. But it will take some time to develop it. There'll be people from Dallas Police Department, Dallas Fire and Rescue. There'll be experts on cell phone mapping, cell phone extraction. You'll see financial records. You'll hear from the FBI. You're going to hear from the ATF. You're going to hear from Ms. Noble.
Yeah.
And what I want you to remember,
when he's saying all the people we're going to hear from, he said we're going to hear from the FBI. So I thought this was honestly a Fed case, but I see this, of course, this is a state case. But it like the Feds helped in regards to having them try this murder. The Feds are in assistance with the state. To say we're going to hear from Ms. Noble last, I don't know what the goal is to hear from MO3's mother, except to show who the man is or was. I don't know if that'll help or hurt the state's, their case. I don't know if it'll help to show who he was from what the mother knew. Me knowing Miss Nicole, she wasn't around all the beef stuff, so I don't know even what having her up there would do.
remember was yesterday from those of you that had Fort Iron yesterday, 2 days ago, for those of you who had it 2 days ago, was I want you to remember that puzzle that Ms. Biggins put up and talked about the pieces. And I think it's important. I don't typically like to use that example, but in this case, more than any other, I think it's important. Because you're going to hear a lot of evidence that at the moment might not make sense to you. And that's okay. Just know that if it's being brought forward, it's being brought forward for a reason. So over the next week, week and a half, know that every piece we bring, every witness, it will tie in at the end. And I'm just asking that you be patient with us and know that we have a lot to get through in the years that came before this and the investigation that took place in November of 2020 and the following investigation afterwards. You will have no doubt that it was the defendant that day. And that after he killed Melvin Noble, Bubba, he went and burned up his clothes. A week later, he tries to get out of town. You're going to hear from him on a call where he talks about just being paid $20,000. And ultimately, when he speaks to Detective Barnes, who's a task force officer with the ATF, and he sits down with Mr. White, you're going to hear that unprovoked, when asked about why does he think Melvin Noble was killed, he's going to bring up Yella, Beezy and the beef because he knows. Now he will distance himself from his involvement, but you're going to see text messages. You're going to see videos. You're going to see interviews.
Ooh.
When we talk about those pieces,
he said we're going to see interviews. I wonder if he's talking about Real Life Street Stars. Is he talking about Vlad TV, Dallas Global, Say Cheese TV? I wonder what interviews they're going to bring up.
Of the puzzle, and as you put them together, as this all comes together, there's going to be only one just verdict. And I want you to remember those questions about who would you hire? Why would you hire them? And when you watch some of these videos, who would do and act like this? And what would cause a person to do this in broad daylight with no regard for anybody else on that highway and who else they may injure? At the end of this, we're going to ask that you return the only just verdict in this case. That's a verdict guilty on capital murder. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the defense wish to make an opening statement?
Yes.
Okay, so just my take on the opening statements. I don't like it, just in general. If you ask me, hey, if I'm looking at justice for my son, if I'm the state, because of course, MO3 is not here to defend himself. I don't like I don't think they have the this lawyer, I don't know his name, but I don't think he has the intensity of what this is. He seems rather new. he doesn't seem quite sure of himself. He was rubbing his hands a lot, going back and forth, and I don't know. I just don't like his look. I don't know. It's just something about him that I'm just not messing with in regards. I feel like there needs to be more intensity in his voice as far as going to prove this case. Maybe I watched too many movies. Maybe this is not how it works. I don't watch a lot of court cases, but I've seen a lot of trials and I've seen different lawyers do different things. I've seen the verbatos or whatever you call it in their voice, stern, talking to the lawyers, giving saying little adages and things that make the jurors remember who they are and set a stage, basically set a precedent. It takes for both parties to set the precedent. And I don't think this guy set the precedent. But let's continue. Let's go and listen to the defense's Keywan White's attorney. Let's see what they have to say in regards. I don't know this person either, but let's see if they have the ability to at least move the jury or at least move me to see if there's a good defense here. Let's keep going.
May it please support. Counsel. If there is one thing that we can agree on, it's that no one likes to be used. No one likes to be misled. And the evidence that the state is going to present to you is going to have you, the jurors, making leaps of faith. But I submit to you that this is not a church, this is a courtroom, and the law demands evidence.
I will say this, just looking at it, the fact that Keywan White has a black female lawyer makes sense. I think that plays well for him versus against him. Of course, people always empathize with females in general. Of course, a black female, you could always pull empathy. And the goal is to pull empathy to create a reasonable doubt that Keywan White did not do this. So I do think match for match, just based on just the looks and the aesthetics, I think Keywan White has a better look when it comes to the attorney that he picked for this trial. That's just my take in regards.
You're going to see that the state's case is riddled with speculations, assumptions, and flawed conclusions. Now, in what I already talked to you a lot about, beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the state's burden. They bought the indictment, they have to prove it. It's their capital murder case that is on trial. What are they going to be able to prove to you? It is not for you to use your imagination to help bridge the gap of their evidence. It is for you to demand that they bring you the evidence and close the gaps for you. Now you're going to hear, and I agree with the state, you're going to hear lots of information. But amassing information does not mean that the state has proven its case. You're going to hear about videos, social media, associations, friendships, rivalries, enemies. You're going to hear about rap lyrics, cards. I submit to you, you're going to hear a lot of information. But that doesn't mean the state has proven its case. This feud goes back to 2017. And Melvin Noble, who was the decedent, was initially the instigator of this feud.
Melvin with MO3.
For evidence that he was.
And I'm curious, are they going to call him MO3 throughout, or just Melvin, and they're going to call Yella Beezy, or Banzo Bling for Keywan White? I want to go Marquise Conway for Yella Beezy. I'm curious what they do, but they said this went back since 2017. Yes, as far as if you watch all of RealLyfe 3 Stars interviews with Roy Lee, with Yella Beezy, with Trap Boy Freddy, they were all together once upon a time. And there's enough video out there to go watch and see, where the feud started and how it started, and you're able to make your own assumptions as far as where it came from. But it has been almost 10 years since this feud started, and the fact that we're even still talking about it now, well, hell, Keefe D's on trial too, so how that go.
Was upset that he was not included in a song called Six Pick that other local rappers from Dallas was included in. And this.
Oh, that is interesting for them to say that this feud started because of the 6 pick. It did not start because of the 6 pick. But I wondered, did they just recently watch our interview with Drop, Mo3's producer, where he said that Mo3 actually recorded a song, was taken off because of the feud with Go Yayo, and Trap Boy wanted to appease Go Yayo and Yella Bees in the song. I wonder did they watch our current interview and pulled from that, or watch Only Say Cheese's interview I'm just curious.
Is how it all gets started. And you're gonna hear that Melvin Noble had many people that didn't like him. And based on his rap lyrics, you're gonna hear that he had many people that he antagonized. And just like the state said, Trapper Freddy was one of them. You're also gonna hear, ladies and gentlemen, about
Take a glass of-
credible witnesses. We talked about that. You're gonna hear some personal witnesses that it's gonna be incumbent that you use your independent judgment, because each of you independently have to decide the facts of this case. And I want you to question your motivations. What do they have to gain? What do they have to lose? Because that's gonna be highly important here. You're also gonna hear, and I wanna spend a little bit of time on Detective Barnes. He's the lead investigator on this case. And he's gonna tell you that he's been looking into this because there's been several shootings and several homicides connected to the Dallas rap scene. And he had a lot of unsolved murders related to this case on his desk. The problem with that is that as he started to amass this accumulation of evidence, this 20 terabytes, this shift in his investigation of evidence will show, stop being what does the evidence prove, and it started being the statement, let me make all this evidence fit into my theory.
Seems to be a lot of evidence.
And that's where you come in. That's where they want you to come in. To make the untethered, disconnected, and flawed conclusions connect for them. They want you to speculate and make assumptions.
Untethered and disconnected. I like that.
Speculate. Remember we talked about the presumption of innocence? That erodes Mr. Wright's presumption of innocence every time you speculate.
Yeah, what do you have beyond reasonable doubt? That's what we need to know as a people.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear a lot about this case. We ask that you keep an open mind. We ask that you always think of his presumption of innocence. We ask that if every time you speculate, say, what is the state trying to prove to me? And what is it really inferred? What do they want me to infer? What is the evidence really show? Because that's important here. Because they're going to want you to interpret rap lyrics from years before. They're going to want you to interpret phone conversations. They're going to say that associations just by meeting up is a connection.
See, somebody just said, just heard Kogati got arrested. Yes,
Simple.
Kogati got arrested on
People
Monday,
have known each other
August
for-
24th.
Since high school,
For
years.
illegal lawful
Just
care
because
weapons.
they met up one day.
That's MO3's brother.
That's going to be indicative of something that related to this capital murder. You will see that all the evidence, whether it's the text messages,
He wants to cut his hair.
photographs, phone calls, communications, meetups, associations, in their eyes, their theory has become totally focused, and everything in Detective Barnes' eyes and the state's eyes has now confirmed that a capital murder has come, and this is why we're here. But we ask you not to let them do that. Not to let them speculate, not to let them use this untethered information. After you hear all the evidence, and I submit you'll probably be here 2 weeks, we're gonna stand before you and we're gonna ask that you find Mr. White not guilty of capital murder. Because the state will not be able to prove this case with credible, reliable, and trustworthy evidence that anyone, Marquise Conway, specifically that's named in the indictment, gave Keyone White payment or promise to payment or promise for payment for Melvin Noble's death. And all the evidence that the state has is mere speculation, assumptions, and flawed conclusions for remuneration. We're gonna ask you to find that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, that is the opening statements of both parties. Did she do well? Did she do better? They both was kind of dry, man. I ain't gonna lie. I don't think one outbeat the other. Again, aesthetically, I like that a black woman is gonna defend. But again, I don't think the other guy did too good either. From what they're saying, stuff like, hey, we're gonna, again, the state's saying, hey, we're gonna show you some things. It's not gonna make sense now. It's gonna make sense later. As far as showing that Keywan White did do this, and Yella Beezy attached. I like to hear more stuff that's more concrete. Like, hey, we got someone that eyewitness pointing at Keywan White, saying that he's the man, or the car. Look at the car being followed home. Have something more concrete. Even when Yella Beezy gets involved, have something concrete, like, oh, we got a text message, we got this video, we got that. I like to see that kind of case. Not just, hey, the music said this or the music that. And on the defense side, she's right. They're gonna pull that these two rappers known each other. Everybody was beefing with everybody. Anybody could have did it, which is true. Anybody could have did this. He was beefing with a whole city, if you would think, or you would say. So I'm curious of how it's about to play out. I am gonna, kind of follow the first day of the trial. Again, this is just the opening statements. I just want to stop at the opening statements. I'm going to see each key witness that's brought up. We're going to go back and we're going to watch for what the witnesses matter to the trial. That's the ones I'm going to review and talk about. I want to come out here, whether every day, once a day, every other day. I want to talk about who was brought up, what evidence was shown, and how does this relate to myself, Real Life Street Stars, and everything else. So with that being said, let's just stop it here. Give me your take on, who did better, the defense or the prosecution? Do y'all feel Keywan White is guilty? Is there beyond a reasonable doubt they have? Do y'all feel like he may walk? Do y'all feel Yella Beezy will be involved, or will Trap Boy Freddie be brought in? Will Rainwater be brought in? These are questions. I'm just curious your take on it. Let me know your thoughts. We're gonna kind of go through this together. So definitely make sure you do the thing. Subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because as we go, you want to get your notification bell on. See that I've dropped another video, kind of joining the community. Let's talk about this. Again, if y'all want to know my ties to MO3, y'all might have seen me in the 221 video. I posted videos of us, playing Connect 4. And then, of course, there's countless of interviews that, MO3 helped kick the Real Life Street Stars off. He's recorded videos. He's done interviews. We've shot his House of Blues birthday concert. We pretty much interviewed his whole family. I'm pretty, close to the family. I've, done stuff for the MO3 Foundation, been to MO3 Day, mom, dad, brother, family, cousins. I'm cool with all those people, man. And I got nothing but love. And my condolences go out to the family, and my condolences go out to everyone that's affected by this. You know what I'm saying? We just got to pray and keep prayer up for everyone that's involved and that's affected. And hopefully, justice is not blind, and, we'll find out more of what happened in the story of Mo3 leading up to his final days. So with that being said, make sure you do the thing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and let's, jump in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about all of this. Until the next one, man, I appreciate you guys. Jeez. And let's see where this trial goes, man.